The kettle screamed behind her, but not louder than the words she'd just said. "We're done." I looked up from the spoon in my hand, which I'd been using to stir honey into her tea. Her favorite, lavender chamomile. No sugar, 1 drop of lemon, stirred clockwise, not counter. I knew every detail of her preferences like muscle memory. It was the only kind of memory I still trusted. The tea bag floated, half submerged. My hand didn't move. "Did you hear me?" she said again. Steam curled around her face like a ghost wrapping its arms around her throat. She looked calm. Not cold. Not furious. Just done, the way someone closes a book they didn't finish reading. I still didn't speak. The silence filled the room, seeped into the walls, climbed the edges of the window panes. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other like she was waiting in line for coffee, not ending a 7-year marriage. I watched a single drop of honey slide off the spoon into the cup. It landed without a sound. "You're not going to say anything?" she asked. But there was a flicker of hesitation now. She expected me to yell, cry, grab her wrist, and beg her to reconsider. She expected drama, emotion, a scene. Instead, I stood up, pushed the chair in slowly, took off the wedding ring I hadn't removed in 2,523 days, and set it beside the mug. Then I walked out. Not just out of the kitchen, out of the house, out of the life I built around her. I didn't slam the door. I didn't even close it all the way. Because silence, as I was about to learn, doesn't need to be loud to echo. I made it 5 blocks before I realized I hadn't even taken my phone. And 10 blocks before I realized I didn't care. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, is that she'd break first. Not me. And when she did, it wouldn't be a call. It would be a knock at my motel door at 2:11 a.m., 3 weeks later. And she wouldn't be alone. The first thing I heard wasn't the knock. It was the rustle of my own breath. The kind of shallow breathing you do when you're not quite asleep, but pretending to be, even from yourself. The motel room was cold and smelled like old paint and damp curtains, but it was mine now, at least for the week. My phone was face down on the tiny desk. I hadn't touched it in days, not since I used it to order a lukewarm burger from a place with 2 stars on Yelp. Then came the knock. 3 short raps. Not frantic, not soft, just deliberate, measured. I stared at the ceiling and didn't move at first, like if I stayed still enough the universe would forget I was there. But the knock came again, this time with a whisper behind it. "Cliff, are you in there?" Her voice. And for a second, my chest felt like it folded in on itself. I didn't even realize I was clenching the blanket until I saw the white of my knuckles in the motel's blue TV glow. She sounded breathless. Not like she'd been running, more like she'd been crying. I stayed quiet. My throat was dry and I knew if I spoke, my voice would betray me. Another knock. Then the sound of her back against the door, sliding down. I could hear it, the soft scrape of her jacket against the cheap wood, followed by a muffled exhale. "I didn't mean for it to come out like that," she said. "The way I said it in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to hurt you." Funny. That's the thing about knives. Doesn't matter if you meant to stab. Once it's in, it's in. Still, I stayed silent. My hand hovered over the doorknob. I didn't unlock it. I didn't tell her to go. I just listened. I thought maybe you'd fight for me. That you'd get mad. That you'd say something. There it was. The truth underneath the wreckage. She didn't want peace. She wanted proof that she still mattered enough to make me bleed. I could almost hear her shaking now. Or maybe that was me. "You scared me," she continued. "Just walking away like that. No yelling. No texts. No calls. It's like you disappeared. You always came back before." And that's what did it. That sentence. You always came back before. She hadn't come to apologize. She came because her power didn't work anymore. Because for the first time since we got married, I didn't orbit around her. I didn't chase her breadcrumbs. I walked away from the table before she flipped it over. I finally spoke. "You said we were done." A pause. Then a broken whisper. I didn't mean it. Too late. Because silence, when it's real, when it's chosen, it becomes a decision louder than anything spoken. But what she said next, that's what made me sit down on the edge of the bed, completely still. "Cliff, I think I'm pregnant." And suddenly the silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was suffocating. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the carpet like it might spell out the answer in some motel magic trick. My head was buzzing so loud I almost didn't hear her sob on the other side of the door. Almost. But the word she dropped wasn't just a bomb. It was an earthquake. Not because of what it meant, but because of what it didn't. Pregnant? How? We hadn't been intimate in weeks. Maybe months, honestly. Our last time had been half-hearted, the kind where you know something's broken but you're both too tired to acknowledge it. We didn't even look at each other during. It felt like routine. Choreographed. The muscle memory of a relationship on life support. And now, all of a sudden, she's carrying my child? I opened the door. Not all the way, just a crack. Enough to see her curled up on the floor in her oversized coat, mascara streaking down her cheeks. She looked up, eyes wide, wet, and scared. Not guilty, just fragile. And maybe that's what pissed me off the most. Because even after all of this, I still wanted to comfort her. I still wanted to fix her. Still wanted to believe her. Whose is it? I asked flat. No emotion. No anger. Like I was asking about the weather. Her lips parted, but no words came out. There it was, the hesitation. A good liar always takes a second too long. Not because they don't have a story ready, but because they're choosing between which version to sell. And Rochelle had always been a convincing salesperson when she needed to be. Cliff, don't do this, she whispered. You know it's yours. But I didn't know. And she knew I didn't know. That's why she was here. Not to confess, not to reconnect, but to control the narrative before it spun out of her hands. I opened the door just a little wider. Enough to let her step inside. She looked surprised, like she wasn't expecting that. Maybe she thought I'd slammed the door in her face. Maybe she wanted me to, so she could cry to her sister about how cold I'd become. But I didn't. I let her inside because I needed to see how much of her story she'd try to spin before she choked on it. She stood in the middle of the room like it was made of glass. I sat on the edge of the bed again, arms crossed, heart hammering so loud I thought she might hear it. She was fidgeting, pulling at the sleeves of her coat, glancing around at the stained wallpaper like it might rescue her. When did you find out? I asked. 2 days ago. Why didn't you tell me then? Her answer was a dagger wrapped in silk. I didn't think you'd want to know. No. What she meant was, I didn't think you'd still be gone. She thought I'd be back in the kitchen, waiting like a dog for scraps, ready to talk it through, to argue, to give her the attention she needed to feel real again. But I had vanished. And in that silence, her power had started to rot. I stood up and walked past her toward the little motel desk. There, next to the dead lamp and an old receipt from Taco Bell, was my phone. I turned it over. Dozens of missed calls. Texts. A voicemail titled, "Please listen." All from her. I opened none of them. You need to tell me the truth, I said, turning to face her. Because if you lie to me now, I swear to God you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. She blinked hard, like the tears were waiting at the edge but refused to fall this time. Then, finally, her voice cracked in a way I hadn't heard since the day we buried her father. It might not be yours. She didn't whisper it. She didn't scream it. She just said it, like it was a fact, like saying the sky is blue or Tuesday comes after Monday. And that was the moment something inside me shut off completely. She didn't cry after she said it. That stunned me more than the words themselves. It might not be yours. Most people would have broken down, rushed to explain, backtrack, throw in some twisted version of the truth to soften the blow. But Rochelle just stood there, clutching her coat like it was a shield, staring at me with eyes that didn't flinch. I sat back down, not because I was tired, but because my knees had started to shake. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing that. I didn't even ask the obvious question yet. I was too busy rewinding everything in my head. Every late night. Every mysterious phone call she took in the bathroom. Every time she said, "Don't wait up." All those puzzle pieces I had forced to fit before, they suddenly snapped into place on their own. Too perfectly. Who is he? I asked finally. Her eyes dropped. Not down in shame, down in calculation. I knew that look. She wasn't searching her conscience. She was crafting her version of the story. I don't want to talk about that, she said quietly. Tough. Cliff. No. You walked into my motel room in the middle of the night and told me you might be pregnant with someone else's kid. You don't get to say what we talk about now. Her lip trembled. She looked like she was about to run. And I wanted her to. God. I wanted her to bolt out the door so I could tell myself she was the coward. That it was her guilt making her run, not my weakness keeping her here. But she didn't. It was just one time, she whispered. I stood up again. The rage wasn't violent. It wasn't even loud. It was cold. Deep. Controlled in a way that made my hands stop shaking. Was it Jared? I asked. She looked up fast. Eyes wide. That's all I needed. She hadn't said his name. I had. and her face confirmed it faster than a confession ever could. Jared, the book club friend. The guy she once described as just a harmless coworker when I asked why he texted her after midnight. The man I shook hands with at a charity event last fall, who looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're a lucky man." I remember how firm his handshake was, like he was claiming territory. So it was him. How long? I asked. Cliff. How long? She pressed her fingers to her temples like that might reset the moment, like massaging her skull would rewrite the timeline. 3 months, she said eventually. But it didn't mean anything. That was the part that finally made me laugh. A deep, humorless, bitter thing that came from some cracked part of my chest. I didn't even recognize the sound coming out of my own mouth. It didn't mean anything? I repeated. Then why are you in my motel room right now telling me about a baby that might not be mine? She stepped forward. Because I don't want to lose you. I took a step back. Now that was funny. Rochelle, I said slowly. You lost me the second you opened your mouth in that kitchen. Everything after that has just been paperwork. And then she did something I didn't expect. She pulled something out of her coat pocket and held it out to me. It was an envelope. Plain. Sealed. No name. No writing. What is it? A letter. From Jared. I didn't take it. She placed it on the desk beside my phone. He doesn't know I'm here, she added. Is he the one you're keeping the baby for? No, she said. I'm keeping it because I have to. But if it's yours, I need you to know that I'll do anything. I cut her off with a breath. I couldn't listen to another sentence. Not when I hadn't opened the letter. Not when I hadn't read what the other man, the one who might have fathered the child, had to say to my wife. But even before I touched it, I already knew something was wrong. Because Jared was married too. I didn't open the envelope right away. I stared at it while Rochelle shifted nervously near the wall, like she was trying to melt into the motel's faded wallpaper. The silence grew again, that strange kind of heavy quiet that feels alive, the kind that makes you hyper-aware of your own heartbeat. I didn't trust her, but I didn't trust myself either. Not in that moment. I didn't want to touch something that would confirm what I already feared, or worse, reveal something I hadn't even thought to be afraid of yet. Eventually, I reached for it. The paper was warm, like it had been in her pocket a while, probably clenched in her palm during the drive. I looked up once more, just to catch her expression, and there was something strange in her eyes. Not guilt, not fear, something closer to panic, like she regretted bringing it at all. I could tell she wanted to grab it back, but knew it was too late. I slid my finger under the seal, pulled the flap back, and unfolded the single sheet of paper inside. Jared's handwriting was neat. Precise. That made me hate him more, for some reason. The kind of man who forms his GS like a textbook and dots every goddamn I like a man with nothing to hide. But what I read wasn't what I expected. Not even close. Rochelle, I don't know what you're planning, but I need you to stop. You told me you were going to end things with Cliff. I didn't ask you to. I told you I wasn't going to leave my wife. I've said that every time. If you're pregnant, I need proof. A test. Something. You can't just say that and expect me to roll over and destroy my family. I've already given you too much. You said this was a game at first, that he needed to feel what it's like to lose control. That's what you told me, remember? I want no part of this anymore. You said he would crack by now, but if anything, he's disappeared, and you're unraveling. Do not come to my house again. My wife is starting to ask questions. I stopped reading there. I stared at the last line for so long it started to blur. My hands were shaking, and the letter fluttered slightly from the draft of the wall, AC unit humming like nothing was wrong with the world. Game, I said quietly. Rochelle didn't answer. I turned to face her full on now. It was a game? She didn't cry. I think she knew by now that I wasn't falling for that anymore. She didn't move, either. Just stood there like a prisoner waiting for a verdict. Like this whole thing had spiraled too far out of her own control. And maybe that was the first time I saw it clearly. She wasn't the puppet master anymore. She was just another lost liar backed into a corner. I didn't mean it like that, she said finally, but her voice was thin and brittle. No? Then how exactly did you mean it? My voice rose for the first time since that day in the kitchen. You told another man you were going to wreck me just to see what would happen. You played with people's lives like they were Monopoly pieces, Rochelle. What the hell is wrong with you? She finally stepped forward, eyes wide, desperate. You never fought for me, Cliff. You were always just there. Passive. Predictable. You never showed passion unless I lit a fire under you. I wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to shake you awake. And what? You thought humiliating me was the way to do it. I didn't mean to, but you did. You did humiliate me. And now you're standing in a motel room, telling me you might be carrying a child that doesn't belong to either of us emotionally, just biologically. You don't even know whose life you've ruined more, mine or Jared's. I dropped the letter on the desk. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands pressed to her mouth, like she was trying to keep something inside. But I didn't care anymore. I didn't want to fix her. I didn't want to understand her. I wanted out. But before I could even grab my coat, she said something else, soft, almost like an afterthought. But it chilled me to the bone. There's more. I turned back slowly. More what? Her eyes welled up now, not performative, not theatrical real. And I hated how I could still tell the difference. Jared wasn't the only one. For a full 10 seconds, I didn't respond. I just stood there, locked in place, staring at her as if the air between us had turned to glass, and I couldn't move without shattering everything. My brain tried to reject the words before they landed, but it was too late. Jared wasn't the only one. She said it like a confession, but it hit like a sniper shot. Silent, sudden, lethal. You're going to have to say that again, I said eventually, though I already heard it the first time. Every syllable burned into me like acid on paper. She looked down, picked at the edge of the motel blanket like a nervous teenager, then looked back up with those soft, fake sorry eyes I used to fall for. There was someone else before Jared. A while back. It didn't last. It was just talking mostly. I almost laughed. Talking. That's how they always frame it. Like words can't cheat. Like emotional betrayal is somehow cleaner than the physical kind. But the way she said it, like it was some minor detail, like we were just ticking off boxes in her little inventory of sins, it made me sick. Who? I asked. My voice was hollow now. Too tired for anger. Too bruised for volume. She hesitated. He was someone I met in that online support group. After my dad passed. We connected. I was lonely. You weren't really. I raised my hand. Not to strike her. God, no. Just to shut her up. Don't. Don't do that thing where you blame this on me being emotionally unavailable. You could have talked to me. You could have said something instead of starting a private pity party with strangers. It didn't mean anything, she said again. That phrase. I was going to hear it in my nightmares. You keep using that like it's some kind of moral shield. Like it absolves you of everything. She exhaled sharply, finally sounding like she meant it. I needed to feel like I mattered. I needed to feel something real. You were always so safe, Cliff. So quiet. I felt like I was drowning in predictability. I sat down in the motel chair, that cheap plastic thing with cracked upholstery and wobbly legs. So your solution was to burn the house down? You wanted chaos, so you manufactured it? Her silence was the closest thing I'd gotten to a yes. I looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I married. I didn't even see the woman who betrayed me. I saw someone I didn't recognize at all. A stranger in my wife's skin. Someone who had gone so far off the path that she couldn't find her way back even if she wanted to. I thought maybe if I told you, she started again, we could move forward. You'd finally wake up. I did wake up, I said coldly. The second you said we were done in that kitchen, I woke up for the first time in years. I saw you clearly. And you know what scared you the most? She didn't answer, so I did it for her. That I didn't say anything. That I didn't scream or beg or ask why. That I didn't give you the satisfaction of a scene. You live off conflict, Rochelle. You need it like oxygen. And when I gave you silence, it starved you. She wiped her face now, genuinely crying. Her mascara was long gone. Her mouth quivered like a child caught stealing. I was going to fix it, she whispered. That's why I came tonight. I wanted to tell you everything and start fresh. But that's not what her actions said. If Jared hadn't written that letter, would she have told me the truth? If I hadn't asked, would she have admitted to the other man? No. She came to regain control, not to confess. Then, just as I was about to tell her to leave, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She didn't move. I reached for it before she could stop me. The screen lit up. A notification from an app one didn't recognize. One of those disappearing message platforms that cheaters and gamblers and drug dealers use to keep things off the radar. One message. One name. Marcus. And the message read, "Did you tell him? Or are we still playing the long game?" I stared at the screen longer than I should have. The name lit up again. Marcus. And this time, the message underneath was even worse. If he's still buying the victim act, milk it. We're almost there. Almost there. I didn't say anything right away. I just slowly turned the phone toward her and let the silence do the talking. Her eyes widened like she'd just remembered something she'd buried too carelessly. And that's when it hit me. She hadn't planned on me seeing this. She never meant to leave her phone unlocked. Maybe she never even meant to stay this long in the room. But something shifted, something slipped, and now the curtain had fallen too fast. Who the hell is Marcus? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, because if I spoke any louder, I was afraid of what else might come pouring out. Rochelle opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked like a glitching character in a video game, trying to decide which direction the script should go. I stood and took a step forward. No more games, Rochelle. I'm not the same guy you used to play dress up with. You're going to tell me everything. Right now? She finally sat down, not like she was defeated, but like she was buying herself time to control the explosion. It's not what you think. Start talking. Marcus is someone I met online. Months ago, around the same time things started going cold between us. She paused. He understood me. That part made me laugh again. He understood me. The same recycled excuse I've heard in every affair story I've ever read online. As if that justifies orchestrating pain. What's the long game, Rochelle? Her eyes darted to the door. It was never supposed to go this far. At first, Marcus just listened. He told me I deserved more, that I was wasting my life. He said if I wanted out of a dead marriage, I needed to create a situation where you would leave without a fight. I couldn't breathe. So that whole breakup in the kitchen, that was rehearsed. She didn't respond, which was answer enough. My stomach turned. You and Marcus planned this? I didn't plan to sleep with Jared, okay? That was separate. I actually stepped back because I felt like I was going to be sick. You played me like a villain in your own little redemption arc. You pushed me out, made me question my sanity, and then sat back waiting for me to implode so you could walk away clean. I didn't think you'd disappear, she snapped, suddenly defensive. You were supposed to argue, to scream. You were supposed to fall apart in front of me so I could feel something. But you didn't. You vanished. That wasn't part of the plan. And that's what made you panic. Her silence said everything. All of it. The tears, the visit, the pregnancy announcement. None of it was about truth. It was about reclaiming the upper hand. Her little con had slipped through her fingers, and now she was here trying to salvage what she could before it burned to ash. And Marcus, this faceless manipulator she invited into our lives. He wasn't just a stranger whispering poison. He was a co-author in this mess. And from the way his message was worded, this wasn't just casual cheating. This was something calculated. I opened her phone and started scrolling. She didn't even try to stop me now. Maybe she knew it was over. Dozens of messages. Weeks of chats. Voice memos. Plans. Scripts. Things to say to me. Advice on how to twist my words back on me. How to guilt trip. How to act wounded. And one thing stood out. A message from 2 weeks ago. If he walks away for good, we'll move forward like we planned. You'll get your payout. I'll get my investment. He'll be too emotionally scrambled to fight it. Payout. Investment. What the hell does that mean? I asked, shoving the phone toward her. Rochelle finally stood, and for the first time since she'd entered the room, her mask slipped completely. Her posture changed. Her eyes went flat. No more tears. No more trembling voice. She looked at me like I was a math problem she'd already solved. I wanted out, but not poor. Her words echoed in the room like a gunshot that had no bullet, just smoke. I wanted out, but not poor. For a long moment, I didn't say anything. I just stood there, staring at the woman I had once believed was the safest place on earth. Her hands were folded now, calm, still. She looked like she'd rehearsed that line a dozen times in front of a mirror. And maybe she had. This wasn't a breakdown. This was her final move. A clean exit. Or so she thought. She didn't realize I'd already woken up the day she told me we were over. She didn't know I'd been quietly, carefully watching since then. And in that silence, the one that scared her so much, I had been rebuilding myself, piece by piece. You're not getting anything, I said finally, voice level, steady. No house. No car. No payout. Not a cent. She scoffed. You think you can outmaneuver me? You left, Cliff. That's abandonment. There's a paper trail. I smiled, the first real smile I'd managed in weeks. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. I walked over to the desk drawer, pulled out a small black object, and held it up. A tiny recorder. It had been running since the minute I opened the motel room door. Her confession, Jared's letter, the Marcus messages, everything had been preserved. Her face dropped. All the color drained at once, like someone pulled her power plug. I didn't come here tonight to fix anything, I said. I let you talk because I wanted the full picture before I walked away for good. And now I have it. You're not the one holding the cards anymore. Her voice cracked, for real this time. You wouldn't take this public. That's nuclear. No, I said. I'm not posting it anywhere. I'm not dragging your name through the mud like you planned to do with mine. I'm just going to give it to my lawyer and walk away clean. She started to panic. Cliff, don't do this, please. I made mistakes, but we can fix it. We can go back. I tilted my head slightly. You never wanted to go back. You just didn't expect me to get ahead of you. She reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't pull away. I let her hold it for a second. Let her feel the warmth of something she thought she still owned. And then I gently pulled it free. Take care of yourself, I said. You're going to need to. And with that, I walked past her, down the cheap carpet hallway, past the buzzing ice machine, out into the night. It was cool outside. The kind of air that feels clean on your skin, like something has ended, but not in a tragic way. In a freeing way. I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't carrying her anymore. I wasn't carrying her lies, or her guilt, or her manipulations. I was just carrying me. Weeks later, the divorce was signed quietly. No fight. No scandal. Just legal clarity, sealed and done. Jared never contacted me, and I never reached out. As for Marcus, he disappeared the second things got real, the way cowards always do. And me? I got better. Not overnight. Not with some miracle rebound story or grand transformation. But slowly. Honestly, I went back to basics. Real food, real friends, small laughter, silence that felt like peace instead of punishment. I moved into a small house by the river, got a dog named Baxter who doesn't cheat or lie or overthink breakfast. I even picked up painting again, something I gave up years ago when life became about making her happy. Now, I wake up and I make me happy. And it turns out, that's enough. I never thought silence could be so loud or so healing.